Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Kat. And this is episode 79. And it was the topic of this webinar. Podcast.
She's still at work.
I'm still at work. is something happened to me this past week that caught me off guard. I was reading something on Threads, which is where I hang out for whatever entertainment and information. And it was something that a woman had written, and when I read what happened to her, I had this automatic thought that shocked me. My thought was, and I can't remember the exact words, I really wish I could, although I'm not sure that it matters, because I think what surprised me so much was that whatever it was that happened to her, my first thought was, well, why did she do that, or why didn't she do something? So it's like the blame was on her. It wasn't her fault, obviously, but my automatic thought went to, well, it was kind of like if you were out somewhere, it's like, well, why was she there, or why was she wearing that? And it was so weird to me. I was like, oh, why did I just think that?
You recognized it.
Why did that thought automatic? Because I don't feel that way. When I read that something's happened to a woman, if she got accosted, cussed out by some guy, some bullshit that's happening to us all the fucking time in the world as women, when we're just trying to be, when we're just trying to be.
Just trying to be.
And then some, usually a man, comes along and interrupts our world and does something or says something crazy, and then we have to either defend ourselves or walk away from it. And I don't think, and I was just really surprised at my reaction. So I'm like, okay, so what's underlying this, right? So that's the topic of this, these automatic thoughts that we have as they relate to things that happen to women, and women blame themselves, or women blame other women, or they don't blame the people who are responsible for it. So this is about the patriarchal system, our automatic thoughts around it, how we've been conditioned, socialized, trained, all the things. Indoctrinated, to have these beliefs that even though we want to, even though we're working to get rid of those beliefs and replace them with something more
in alignment with ourselves, with our higher self,
aligning with who we are today and what's in the modern world and what we want the world to be. I think that's even more important, aligning our thoughts with what we want the world to be. But we still have these things that we have to fight. So that's really what the topic of this is about. So when it was what did she do? What did she say? Why was she there? What was she wearing? I was just really shocked at my automatic thought that happened when I read that, and how the thought was, whatever it was, the thought was directed at the person who had
not the person with the wrongdoing.
Yeah, not the person who did it. And I was really taken aback by that, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
So
seriously, I thought to myself,
it shocked you.
It shocked me.
Right.
It really it's almost like if I was to have a racist thought, that would shock me. If somebody did something and I said something really racist, that would really shock me, because that's not
thought it in your head.
Thought it in my head, yeah. Because I don't feel that I'm a racist person.
So Kat brought up an interesting thing when she told me the story, and of course, because I'm the psychologist here, I was like, hey, so automatic thoughts are things that we are taught. They're not actually beliefs that we believe in. It's something that's so integrated into us, we don't even realize we're having them.
Yeah.
Which the whole point of shadow work within witchcraft is to understand our automatic thoughts, the way that we process things, our habits. It can go from very deep things within us that we didn't even know that we believe until we call the situation out, we recognize it, which is what she did. So the beautiful thing that I told her, I was like, I know that for lack of better words, almost embarrassed herself to herself. I admit I did this, and this is fucking shocking to me, and I didn't really like it, and I want to understand why this happened, and how can I don't want to do that. How do I get rid of that?
Yeah.
And this is where, when we're talking about the patriarchy, which I want you guys to know that I'm still learning about what that means, exactly what that system is, versus matriarchal, and really understanding the roles of it, and that it's not, there's so much stuff online, believe me, I've now inundated myself with probably too much. It's very heavy shit, because I'm watching things and I'm like, oh damn, that's a lot to take in. it's more than just the abuse of women. That's not necessarily what patriarchy is. So we're going to define a lot of things today, probably questions that you've had yourself, because there's a lot of terms that are thrown around. Like, what's an automatic thought? What exactly is the patriarchy? How do we define that? It's a system. It's not actually like just about hating men. So we wrote a very nice podcast centered around what happened with Kat and her automatic thought. And this is very much in line with something that I just did on Instagram, because I'm trying to understand what patriarchy means, sort of versus, or like why patriarchy and witchcraft seem to come up a lot in social circles. And I needed to understand that thing, because I've really stayed away from that, because I'm like, well, I don't understand it, I'm not going to talk about it. So I've been doing a lot of research to understand it as a system, when it started, what happened, why it's happening, and then how do we change it? Because I think that is where all the women today are moving towards. We really would like to get out of a system that basically takes advantage, oppresses women, tries to take away our rights, like making us second-class citizens, basically.
It's what I think is what we're working toward. I think it's the evolution that's coming.
Yeah.
The evolution, the revolution, whatever it is coming, because women are fucking done. I mean, you go online and talk about the women who aren't, who are no longer dating, who are like, fuck
we just
men.
Don't want to participate in a system that fucking keeps us small. And
right.
Witchcraft is part of that, right? So I think the resurgence of witchcraft was almost like a first spark of that. Yeah. Even though in America, technically, witchcraft was brought back by a man. Great job, Gerald Gardner. Love you for that. But it's become something else, because even in his magical section, you can read about the abuse that he did. You can read about the abuse of these leaders who basically brought it all back to sex, which is why I could never follow Wicca. I just can't get down with some of the things, principles, whatever. But I really love what Kat has put together tonight based on her own experience, because as you know, this is a big shadow work year. This is uncovering the psychology of why we are witches, why we chose this path, things that have fueled that, how things change as you embrace more of your witchhood. And I just, when I first started practicing, I did it because it was freedom, and I didn't really understand what that meant. I just knew that it was not the religious rule structure thing that told me I had to be a certain way in order to fit in, be accepted, and be loved. Witchcraft was the answer for me to be able to be my authentic self. I am now 45, so I started practicing when I was 17, and I'm like, wow, how it has changed, and how I've watched the world evolve around me, and even bringing my mom into it and everything that she sees now. It's like we keep uncovering stuff it's still beneficial to our growth. Like, you think you start witchcraft and in like 5 years, 7 years, you'll be like this amazing witch that just knows everything and you're done. You don't have to learn anymore. It's a continual learning process, because you get more stuff in your life. I think you're always
uncovering things about yourself that's
the shadow work
that were not in your purview. So something triggers it. There's a situation that triggers some thinking, some feelings, and all of a sudden you're faced with this maybe a part of you that you don't really like and you want to change. And I think that's what my journey only started 7 years ago with this. But when I look back, when I think of who I was 7 years ago at this time and who I am right now, holy shit. I have changed. I can't even tell you how
many sheddings do you think you've had?
So many. Like I have so much snake skin everywhere. Like there's snake skin everywhere, all over the place, of me shedding these layers of myself, and then as things go along and things come up, and I'm faced with situations, or there's whatever it is, and then I find something else. It's almost like they're under the surface, like they're in the ground, and then they're just kind of like, in the witch movie where it's kind of like, I'm thinking of Practical Magic, where the guy's like coming up from the ground.
Oh yeah, there's like the ring, and then the boots, and then like the parts
like
of
the
him.
frogs. I just watched Practical Magic, and they bury the guy in the yard, but he keeps like coming to the surface, and I almost feel like that's what's happening, and has been happening with me, is like these things, because I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew I had I knew I had growth I knew I had places where I could grow.
You were aware of some stuff.
I was aware of some things, yeah. I was definitely aware of some things. As most of us are.
We know our little isms. We're like, oh, okay.
It's really surprising to me how much just keeps being revealed. Yep. And I think this thing where I read this I read this post, and this automatic thought that I had, that me questioning the woman and what she was either doing in that situation or the decision that she had made or whatever it was. Like I said, I can't remember specifically because it was such a shock to me that my automatic thought was to blame her in some kind of way. And
or at least to look at her behavior first before his. Like, well, why did this happen? What were you doing for this to happen?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It was drawing more attention to her, which is victim blaming, which is something that is part of the witch wound. We're going to get to that later in the podcast on how the witch wound and the patriarchy and that system goes together with why we even still feel afraid to come out of the broom closet. And this is, in turn, the gist of this is that we're always just trying to keep ourselves safe. Know that all of the things that we have that could be bad habits or offset behavior or things that are basically systemic from the patriarchy that we have in us, it's because those things have been proven to keep us safe. And that's not a lie. When you're outspoken and the squeaky wheel and you're a mad woman, you draw attention, and attention for a woman can feel very unsafe. I speak from personal experience with that, and I know that I have kept myself small and quiet and invisible because I don't want the attention, because in my mind, attention equals unsafe. That's it. So as we walk through all of these great discussion points that Kat put out, this is probably going to be a long podcast. So I hope that you are driving a long distance if you're listening to this. If you're going to go for a walk, make sure that it's going to be like an hour and a half walk, because we're about to get into some shit, and we hope at the end of this that you, like us, get a better understanding of what the patriarchy is, how it has sort of embedded itself in our culture, our daily lives, where it's at in our schools, where it's at in media, beauty standards, like all this shit. We're trying to bring it all together in one podcast, and at the end of it, it's really about where do we go from here after we learn this. Because we don't want to leave you feeling bad after a podcast, right? We don't want you to like walk away from this going, well, we're all fucked. What are we going to do? We're going to make sure that we address how to move forward. Okay. That's what I have as the setup, because this is heavy shit. This is the first podcast that I actually feel more nervous about because it's so new to me. And I know I'm still going to be learning more. So,
well, I mean, the word patriarchy, if you asked me to define it, I probably would have struggled, to define exactly what it is.
Yes.
I mean, I know in my mind what I would have thought is like men having control over women, like our whole, like
it's men being in charge is what the short answer was, right?
Men being in charge.
Men being in charge.
Well, but it's, it's
actually more than that.
It's actually a little bit more than that. Yes. So simply defined, the patriarchy is a system where men have historically held power socially, legally, and economically over everyone else, over women, children, we should probably say white men. Because
it is white men.
It's been white men throughout history that have typically held the power over everyone else, including men that weren't white, women, and people of color, anybody who wasn't a white man.
Yeah. And wealthy.
It's a system where men are given more power, authority, and value than women and everyone else.
We're all taught to see that as normal.
And so they're given the power and the authority to rule over, to lord over everybody else.
So it's not that they're given a power necessarily. Did I write that? Did I say given? They are given more power. So that was where it started when patriarchy first started out. But men are given more value, which is what we're actually facing right now. Not just authority and power, because women are coming into power, minorities are coming into power. Like there are things shifting there. But one of the things that's at the core of this is men are given more value as a person, as a human. Yeah.
Yes.
And that we're taught to see that as fucking normal. So we're going to address that in like schooling too. So the gender.
You want to know where this shit started from? You want to know where it all goes back to? What I believe?
Yeah.
What I believe? The Garden of Eden, where God made woman from
religion.
So this is where I think this is where it stems from. It's like from right there, women were diminished in the eyes because they were made from the rib of Adam, right? That's how women were formed, not their own whole self as a part of a man. So I think it started with religion, and we could look back at the history of religion and see how, I mean, just think of the stories that you know. Just even, you may not know a lot of history, but surely you know enough that, men ruled, they used God and religion, and then their maleness to oppress and control and wield power over everyone else. And that's what society valued. They valued those men, and everyone else was lower class, second class, or worse, or had no value.
Yeah, so I put down a couple things of like what it looks like. So when we talk about the fact that it is a system where men are given more power, but they're really given more value over everybody else and authority. It's like, who are you going to look to in the room? And we see this in fucking movies. I wrote examples. I'm not going to jump ahead. I'm going to try to stay really fucking on track. My ADHD is really urging me to jump off track, but I'm going to stay on track. Men are often in charge in businesses. Like, if you walked into a room, all of us would probably assume, if there was a table of men, and I was taught this with working with David, how do you know who is in control? And when you can tell who's in control and who's in power, you're already fucked up. Because you've already done the thing that makes this fall into a category where there's going to be inequality of power. If you can know exactly who the powerful one is in the room. Although with The Devil Wears Prada, I'm just saying, we all knew she was in power because fucking Glenn Close. So
but look how she's depicted, though.
She is.
She's depicted as a total bitch.
We're going to come to also names that we call women because that's part of the systemic part of it. So it's men that are often seen in charge, and we assume that they're in charge. So you've got doctors, lawyers, judges, priests, places where there's authority. Again, this is why I chose witchcraft. Masculine traits. So you have to be more masculine leaning. So it's not just that if you're a white man, you have to be masculine and so there's like a whole thing about what a masculine trait is, right? Because if you were a white man who is gay, no, they're not going to give you power and authority and make you have influence over anybody. So there were masculine traits, which they considered were logical people, not showing emotion, being very hard, like, no, this is the way it is. So emotion was literally considered a bad trait for somebody. Being able to have control and be productive. They've got to be producing something. They've got to have action. This is very Mars-oriented of action, fight, war, fighting for something. We're working towards something. There's got to be movement in being masculine. So those were valued over the feminine traits, which of course is like kindness, creation, emotional intelligence,
intuition, nurturing,
healing, fucking medicine. That was all women first. Men, that was like not a man thing. They were like, tough it out, go rub dirt on it. So also in a patriarchal system, women are actually rewarded. This is how they reinforce it in us. This is good girl behavior. Women are rewarded for being agreeable, the attractive of whatever the standard is that men say is attractive right now, okay? Who's ever on the front of that magazine, who's ever being like 1 million likes on Instagram, whatever it is, whoever has the attractiveness. Women are rewarded for that shit. And then when they're accommodating, you can see all the bullshit the men say about like, she was a bitch, she was this, she was that, she was an angry woman, oh no. They don't like it when we have feelings of our own. They're just like, be accommodating. I'm thirsty, I'm doing something, I'm busy, that's woman's work. Like, oh, that shit, I think I might sweat during this podcast. I think I might get fucking hot and sweaty.
That really pisses, that makes me so angry.
Like there's a heater in my chair right now.
That makes me so fucking angry. You just don't even know when I hear shit like that. Like,
so women being rewarded for staying small and being agreeable, but then women are judged or punished anytime they are assertive, sexually like in charge of themselves and understanding. I remember I used to say that I masturbate for shock value around men because they would be like, you masturbate? I was like, yeah. Do you not jerk off? They're like, yeah, but I'm a man. I was like, you're like, okay, that's crazy. So that was my first experience with it, was like sexual authority over myself. It wasn't that I was sleeping with a bunch of men, but just the fact that I knew how to pleasure myself, they were fucking threatened by that. insane.
I'm not.
My chair is fire.
Surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I had a friend who, this was 25 years ago. We used to go out to the bars and stuff together, and she was like, her whole attitude was she was gonna fuck whoever she wanted to fuck because men do it, so why can't she?
Sure.
But the only problem with her is that she would feel bad afterward if the guy, you know, I remember one night we were out and this pretty cute guy, she went home with him, fucked him, and then he didn't call her. And then she felt bad about that. And I'm like...
She tried to play by their rules to be equals, and it didn't work in her favor.
Yeah, but she couldn't, you know, she was, you know, that's the struggle, right? If you try to act like you don't care, but then deep down you're still dealing with these things where it's all that judgment stuff. It's all that it's all that conditioning that we have, that women don't do certain things. Women behave in a certain way. They don't do, you know, it's just, oh my God.
Yeah, we're getting into that.
Oh my God.
So I just want to reiterate that the patriarchy is, and this whole this is not about hating men. Okay, so the patriarchy is not just about men being in charge and being assholes and being terrible people. Because it's a system. It's not about the individual, right? And so we're not man-hating. I was just talking to Kat before we started this. I'm like, I have an amazing husband, and this shit sort of messes with me when I start. And I have a son, and my sister has 2 sons, and I had a father. And like, yeah, I know he wasn't perfect because I know stories, but when we start confronting patriarchy, I think any woman who loves a man and has men in her life, or sons or cousins or uncles or brothers, and you love them, you don't want to think of them as bad people. And so we just want to reiterate that we are talking about a system that literally promotes this, where men can fall into it and they can have, just like us, we're all integrated into it. It wasn't a fucking choice. None of us got to choose this. What happens now is that we have knowledge, we gain knowledge, and then we choose how we act. We didn't get a choice before.
Well, I want to just say something, because we talked about how women were rewarded for being accommodating.
True. Yeah.
Men are also rewarded. Mm-hmm. They're rewarded for being, you know, that macho guy, that take control guy, that leader guy, that CEO type, that whatever, you know, they're rewarded for that.
Yep.
They are, you know, they're promoted.
And they're thought of more manly.
They're promoted. They're elevated. They rise to the top. They rise above. They take over corporations. All of these things. So they are also, it's also, the patriarchal system is also reinforced with the men.
And it's bad for them too. Don't think that men don't get hurt by this system as well. They do. It's not like they have to basically disregard any parts of themselves that feel emotional or have sensitivities or want to love their wife in a different way, because they'll get made fun of. So there is something within that, like the good old boys club, which actually I don't know if that applies here. When I think of the good old boys club, I think of being in South Carolina. It's all the old white men sitting at the bar. So I was never in that system. I can't speak of it. But it's what I think of as like, men have to acclimate to whatever the older man says, this is how you behave, or else you don't get into the club. And again, safety, acceptance, that is humans, that's what we're looking for. That is what is in our, anything biological, motherfuckers talking about we need to have kids and all these other things, women, because that really makes me mad. Biologically, we are all, our brain is wired to come together, to be in a community. So we are looking for acceptance. And so if you have deviant behavior, you're going to look for other deviants to be accepted by. And if you have a more good-natured behavior, you're looking for that. And that could place you in different social classes. Well, so it's there's some convoluted ideas as well.
When you think about how the patriarchy has just like been passed on from generation to generation to generation to generation to generation for thousands and thousands of years, and you think about the men that were raised by the men who behaved a certain way, did certain things, treated their wives a certain way, owned stuff, ran stuff, you know, treated people like second-class citizens, their sons and daughters watched all of this and learned from it, and so then it's perpetuated from one generation to the next. And so the only, I guess we'll get into the parts about like how do we change this. We're
going to get into that. We wanted to give some historical stuff first, though.
Okay.
Because again, we want to educate you the way we've been educating ourselves, because I don't think it's fair to talk about a topic and then just pretend like we all know what the fuck's going on. I think that this is massive, and one podcast does not do it justice, but we're introducing a topic that I feel is really relevant because it seems to be now attacking witchcraft and women's rights, and that's what the fuck we are. So I want to start understanding my enemy, basically, which is a patriarchal system. I'm not going to name any specific people who are my enemy, although I probably could. but I'm naming the system that wants to attack my freedom to do what the fuck I want to do, and what you want to do is your freedom, and that's and it could all be different, but this is why I think the conversation is important.
It's the system that where there's not equality between the two sexes. There's not equality for rights, privileges, anything. You know, so men get all this here, and women get the leftovers down here. Yeah. So,
and it's funny because I almost said, and it's not all men, because I know men that didn't play in the system well, and they didn't get rewarded, right? Just like women, or women who decide that they're going to be a certain wife and just like deal with that, but they're very fucking unhappy, but they do it because they want to exist in this space. You're like, I've seen that too. So we all decide our parts, and I just think that with more education, you can choose where you want to put your energy and efforts, and start to kind of suss out like the people that are not, that ultimately would not have your back if what was the name of the town with Handmaid's Tale?
Gilead.
If Gilead fucking happened, who are the people standing up for you and trying to get you out, basically? So that's where my head goes a little bit. But historically, Kat did this research, and historically for the patriarchy and what the system promotes is that women could not own property, they could not vote, and they were legally tied to husbands and fathers.
So I want to tell you only how long it's been.
It's not been long.
In the United States, the Married Women's not just women, but Married Women's Property Act was passed in 1848. Okay, that's like 150 years ago?
75.
Yeah, somebody do the math. I'm not going to pass. In various states, only in various states, allowing women to control their own property and earnings.
Only if they were married, though.
But yeah,
you had to have a husband.
Married woman, so you had to have a husband. But all other women were, either controlled by their fathers, so they had no rights. We didn't get the right to vote until the 19th Amendment was passed in 1920. And when you think about when we got these rights, the switch didn't flip as soon as we got the right. It took years, just like with any other laws that are passed. It takes years for it to work its way into society. So just think about how long, if the Married Women's Property Act was passed in 1948, when women started actually to benefit from that. It was probably a generation before you actually saw women in society being able to take advantage of that and seeing it manifest in their lives in some way. Same with voting. Yes, we got the right to vote, but what kind of impact were we having as women on the political systems and the laws in the country? Probably not very much, because it was probably years to a generation before we really formed organizations and started looking at what laws do we want, what laws do we need to protect us, our families, and the things, what did we want out of society, what did women want out of society? Because until then, men were making all the laws, they were deciding how things were going to be. So women had to find their voice, they had to organize, even though they got the right to vote. That
it would be rare that all of a sudden every woman went to vote, because I also thought about the influence of her husband, father, everybody else looking at her being like, you're not going to go do that, right? You're not going to be one of those people that just you're not just going to become that person now, right? That's what happens with families when they choose political sides as well. And no matter your political stance, when your family member is in opposition to your beliefs, big fucking rifts happen, right? It tears people apart. So if a woman did want to go vote, but her husband was like, my wife is not voting, you're not going to do that, right? You're still under his influence, even though technically you have the right to. If you don't feel safe to go do it, there's not gonna be some kind of repercussion, you're not gonna go do it. So I also think of that. That's why it probably takes a whole generation, a whole 25 years before new women are raised. This is now the law. This is sort of okay. I'm not even gonna say it's okay. In Florida,
you're starting to see some shifts though after after a generation. I think
more women just standing up for themselves too, where they get mothers that are like, hey, when you grow up, I couldn't do this for myself, but when you grow up, I want you to fucking do this. So they instill it in them, but it takes that woman growing up to that age to be able to vote and do the things different from her her mother or her parents. So
one of the ways that women have always been controlled is through our bodies and our reproduction. I mean, there was no such thing as marital rape. There was no that came along like much. That's very new. Marital rape is very new. But, our bodies and having children. So birth control, the first birth control pill was approved by the FDA in 1960. But do you know that the Catholic Church was like, oh, absolutely not. Any kind of like contraceptive goes against the will of God, right? So women were just supposed to like keep cranking out babies. 1960, I was born in 58. Okay, so my mother was 25, about around 25 years old. And do you know by the time she was 27, she had 6 children? By the time she was 27, I think actually she was 26 when my youngest brother, 6 kids. And that was the norm when I was growing up. Everybody had huge families because even though birth control became available to women, and this says women gained control over their reproductive rights. Yeah, again, their reproductive health. Again, things don't change quickly. You get the access to birth control, but now you're fighting against now you got to deal with the doctor. And who were the doctors? They were all male doctors. Well, you don't need that. We're not going to give that to you. You don't have enough. You don't have enough children. Like it's like you can't get you can't get your tubes tied. Even now today, now today, I read stories of women who cannot get their tubes tied because the doctor says don't have enough kids. It's like women can't make their own choices. Yep. 1963 is when the Equal Pay Act was signed into law. This was supposedly to reduce wage disparities, but women have always been put into these jobs that were menial. What they consider not the teachers are menial, but the pay. Like the pay and the
jobs
and the pay and the opportunities for growth. Teachers,
they didn't want them to be successful and have power and have money and
all these
make changes.
Service roles, right? Yeah. So serving people, doing things.
Everything that grew the fucking community, basically.
Let's see, 72, Title IX, that was passed. That banned sex discrimination in education programs that were receiving federal funds. There's the caveat right there. If they were receiving federal funds, sex discrimination was illegal. Education programs, but everywhere else it wasn't. So it was only men being educated. Women were not allowed to be educated, is what Title IX was about. 74, the equal credit opportunity. This was when women were allowed to get credit cards and loans without a mail. 1974, you guys. 74. I graduated high school in 76. So I was 15 years old when that law was passed. And I had when I think about that, I'm like, Jesus.
This was in your fucking lifetime.
This was in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's some history of, women couldn't own property, couldn't vote, and were the legal property of their fathers and or their husbands.
Yeah, if you didn't like your father, you needed to get a husband to get away from your father.
Who had control over our bodies, our sexuality, our movement, and our voice.
Yeah, even driving, having a car, owning property, having a house on your own. There was nobody being able to be a witch in the woods anywhere.
For most of our history, because we've been around for a little while now, humans, have been around for, 2,000, 3,000. They've been around longer than that, but I mean, like societies, like we can look back and say, here's the societies that got us where we are today. Women were second-class citizens. That's it.
No matter race or continent or anything,
or somebody else's property. They never have had, and so it's just been this really short period of time where we've gotten any control over our lives and ourselves and decisions and things like that. And that's when you think about that in terms of how long we've been here and how little time and how we're still trying to fight. We're still having to fight for like everything. We're still battling these men who are like, women can't do certain things, or they're not smart enough, or the glass ceiling. Glass ceiling is really common. Where being paid less, we do the same jobs, we're paid less than men.
Since I don't know what the glass ceiling is,
the glass ceiling is where women in corporates can only rise to a certain level, and then they hit this glass ceiling and they can't go beyond that, where men, there is, they can go.
Why do they call it a glass ceiling?
Maybe because you can see them,
you can see where you could go, but you can't go,
but you can't get past it.
I'm
not actually sure why it's called the glass ceiling.
Okay.
That's just something that that I've heard. Yeah.
So the next topic, now that we sort of know the history and where all of this comes from and how it started, it's how the patriarchal system becomes internalized. So this is the part that really each individual has to take a look at, because you don't even understand how it lives in your daily life without knowing what it is and then looking at things. Like, I'm no joke, I've been doing research on this for 3 weeks trying to figure it out because I wanted to pinpoint it. Because in my mind, I'm all about women. I'm all about fucking women. But I will say, like Kat, I noticed myself doing things when I was over in Europe recently of like, why is she doing that? Why? And I was looking at the women and their behavior, and I'm like, Jamie, this is not who you believe you are. Like, so you're this automatic thought that comes up, and what an automatic thought is it's something that pops into your head that you don't even have control over. You just hear it, and you're like, what the fuck was that? Whose voice was that?
Where did that come from?
You only think that of it when it doesn't align with who you are now. That's how you know you're shifting. But when you have automatic thoughts where you're like, fucking bitch, and nothing, your brain doesn't go like, why did you say that? You're still integrated. So when you start questioning the little things that pop up in your head that you would never say to anybody else, but they go through your mind, that is where you can see the patriarchal system really like being internalized. So we're going to go through some of these. It's how to experience the patriarchy without even knowing it. How we all experience it without even knowing it. And you're going to recognize things in here because, man, when I was like writing it and reading through shit, I was like, oh, I'm exhausted.
Well, again, when you think about how short of time, how long we've been around, how long we've been building societies and generation after generation after generation, and how short of a time it is that women have had any fucking rights at all to anything. And, and now they're trying to take rights away from us again. They're trying to change voting laws. They've taken away our right to abortion in many states. And there are people in this country who are trying to outlaw abortions across the United States.
Well, and I also thought about this for me because I was in the military, and I feel like I really got good at the boys' game in the military. Like, I went full in. I literally abandoned everything feminine or any kind of like, my sister actually had to teach me about like girl code and how women should treat women, and I was just like, no,
you just acclimated yourself to your environment. We were on a ship with 5,000 men.
Yeah, I mean, not wrong. And
how many women were on that ship?
So if you had 5,000 people on a ship, which that's a carrier, my ship was more like 3,000, and most of them were men. I mean,
that's a small town.
3,000 people, maybe 250 of us were women, maybe. And my ship specifically, my very first ship, the one where I had my sexual assault, that ship had only had women on it for 2 fucking years. And the big thing that you're told when you get there, and I didn't realize this until I think I'm just realizing it right now. The fucking thing that you got told when you got there was that, yeah, so there's the first wave of women, because women weren't really allowed on ships in the fucking Navy in 1999. Now, I will say, there are some places that me as a woman would not want to go. A submarine. I've been on a submarine. I've seen how fucking tiny that shit is. You shouldn't live in that close of quarters. It ain't healthy for nobody. But anyways, on my ship, there is space. There's gyms and there's multiple cafeterias and there is space. But the first wave of women, they would always tell you this. They sent 100 women to a ship with 3,000 men on it. And the story they say is every woman but 3 left pregnant. And I was like, damn. Why? What? Why? You're not supposed to have sex on the ship when it's underway. You can have sex when you pull into port, but like you're free to really do whatever the fuck you want. You just can't sleep with people higher up than you. But they tell you that story as if to say, this is what we think of women. You guys come here, you can't control yourselves, you sleep with people, you get pregnant, you get off the ship. The other way of saying it was women don't want to be on ships, so they get pregnant, so they have to be kicked off. Because as soon as you're pregnant, you got to go. Like, they will air flight you out of there the moment they find out you're pregnant. Because it's a risk. You can't... it's a risk. so I was the third wave of female, or now by this year, on year 3, we were getting normal billets where women filled roles, right? My division was 56 people, and we had 4 females. Just 4 out of 56. So that was my actual division. I had 2 females in charge, 1 chief and 1 female officer, neither of which were respected very much at all. They had no authority. They were just women in their roles doing what they could. So I feel like when I was in the military, I really did integrate and I loved being called a bitch. It was a compliment to me. I was like, fuck yeah, I am. Like, what are you going to do? You know, like I felt like that was an authority term for women. I was like, that means you can't get over on me. You're not about to I'm not going to be all sappy, emotional, and feel sorry for you. No, you're going to follow the rules just like everybody else should. So there were things about it where it really made me disconnect from women, not see, I became less emotional. I definitely took on more male, masculine traits as far as making decisions, being very logical, not thinking with my heart. My intuition, that was extremely fucking hard, you guys. My witchcraft practice during that time, I lived in a bunk, and I had a very small section, and honestly, it was just about me and trying to work on my psychic abilities, my dream work. I didn't do spells at that time. I wasn't celebrating the holidays. I wasn't allowed to have crystals. I was allowed to have maybe 2 books. That's it. And this is also a time when witchcraft wasn't really big, right? So there weren't a million books out there. I don't even know how the fuck I'd survive now with all my things that I want. But I had a dream catcher. That was allowed. That was you're allowed to have a few personal items on your bunk, and that was one of them. And it was a time when everything for me really had to stop, and I was allowed, because of my rank, I was allowed to have a house out in town, so I had more things. I had my tarot cards, and I had my journal, but in my day-to-day life, 8 months out of the year, not allowed. Had to shut that part of myself off. And I see now the damage. I see and I understand, and fuck. That's why I'm in therapy still. That's why I'm going on year 10 of therapy, and I love that for me. Okay, so we were going to get into how the patriarchy becomes internalized. All right.
Well, all of these stories, though, is how this, our experiences.
Yeah, because we're not just taught beliefs, we absorb them, right?
Right.
You're around it for so long, you just learn that that's the way it is. Have you ever fucking heard that saying? That's just the way it is. That's just life. And people basically tell you, stop fighting it. This is the way it is. And hearing that enough, you're like, oh, okay, well, you're not going to change it, so give up and acclimate. Yeah. The next one is we're socialized in the patriarchal world, right? So we watch, this is about watching every other person integrate into the world, necessarily not question it, or when they do, it's just, we have girl rants and we bitch and stuff, but then we don't do anything different. We go to work and do the same things.
Well, what powers do we have really to do anything, to change anything? It was, like you said, part of surviving was learning to stay safe in those in that type of a world, you know.
And I think about, to rationalize it, when you feel like you're an individual working against a system, you're like, how much change can one person bring? And if I can't find people to rally with me, I am alone in this. You're not
all on your own.
Yeah,
it's you against the world, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, many of us, like me, were raised by mothers who had few rights and were objectified by men. In my family, there was no talk of college or career. My mom had 6 kids. I thought that's what I wanted. That was the only thing that was
presented to you.
That was the only, I just didn't know to ask or think of any. Nothing was discussed. There were no examples of that in my then this when I was really little. In my neighborhood, all the women stayed home, took care of the children, and the men went off to work every day, just like in that one movie with Harry Styles and Lawrence Pugh, where they
Don't Worry Darling.
Where all the men
yes, at the same time.
Yeah, they all drive out of the driveway, and the women stay home all day and would do whatever women
cooking and cleaning, all the women jobs.
This is literally what my neighborhood was like when I was growing up. All the men left first thing in the morning, and then they all came home at 5 o'clock, and the wives were waiting at the door with a pitcher of martinis and telling the kids to scram and be seen and not heard.
I put that in here. What I really love that you put in the notes is that You didn't know that there were other options. And that is why we do what we do right now. It's why I chose to start a whole witchcraft thing back in 2020. I was like, you know what? People don't know what they don't know. And given another choice, I bet you they would choose the path of freedom that feels better to them than the one that creates rules and tells them to lessen themselves. And that is why we continue on. And I think that's why this year we chose the hard topics of everything to do with shadow work, because it's bigger than just like lighting candles and setting your intuitions and getting moon water, and like witchcraft is bigger than those things. The tip that I have on witchcraft for all of us is to, yes, do the things that in your daily life are amazing, that feel great, the small rituals, the spells, your manifestations, your mantras, but truly to fix yourself, to understand yourself. And I said fix yourself, which I don't know if that's quite right, but I think that I'm fixing myself.
I think it's evolving. It's evolving. It's
to evolve yourself, not fix yourself. There's not a fixing. To evolve yourself.
Yeah.
To get out of the rut of what you were born into. To reach your highest potential and what you believe that is. That's this work. That's going through all of these really fucking tough stories. That's addressing all of these things. That's what this year is about for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm being bolder than I ever have. And I think in all the years before, I was like, don't make anybody upset. Don't, like, let people's feelings get hurt. I miss fucking people pleaser, you guys. I'll fight that probably till the day I die, unfortunately. But so I really liked that you said there were no other options, because that is our purpose for all of this today. That's what I believe my purpose is now, is providing women with options and letting them know that they don't got to stay the same.
So here's the big difference. Just think about this juxtaposition here. Me being raised in a neighborhood where all the moms stayed home. Every family was, 4 to 6 kids, or maybe 8 kids. All the women stayed home. The kids ran around the neighborhood. The women wore dresses. They
still
stood at and then the men went off to work. Now contrast that with when I was raising my children. Women were now in the workforce. Women were working 2 jobs. Women didn't have husbands. So the things that my children saw and my daughter saw was completely different than what I grew up with. Yeah. So I don't think
injustice.
I don't think they ever grew up thinking, I just want to have a husband and kids like me, because that was all that I saw.
Never.
Jamie wanted to travel the world since she was...
I never wanted to get married or have kids. Ever. That was my goal in life. Don't ever get married. Don't ever have fucking kids. Ever. And I've been honest with my son about that too. I'm like, I don't know why for just like 4 months, 1 year, I decided I wanted a kid with this guy that I didn't stay with, but I'm glad I have you. I love you and you're my purpose. So it is really weird the way those things come about. But even today, I don't want kids, and even getting married to my husband now, that would have never fucking happened. Never. And I told him, I was like, why do you want to marry me? Do you even know me? Like, what? But we're we are very well matched. Very, very well matched. And that's it. And I told him, I was like, there will never be anybody after you. I fucking hate men. I don't even like them. I don't know how you got through the door.
All right, so let's circle back to how patriarchy becomes internalized and talk about some of the sources of that. So sources. We just talked about parents, right? My parents, me as a parent, now my girls as parents.
So I wrote this in here that the outside approval of your parents, what is now coming into psychology today is fucking approval, you guys, because now everything is seen. So we're a little more out there, right? We're not listening as much, but now we're trying our own actions and then see if people approve of it. So we've got a little more of our freedom where we're like, I'm going to go try this. And if your parents are like, are you? Oh, you're choosing that over med school? Oh, is that what's best for you? So they don't tell you not to do it, but they're not going to approve of you, and they're going to make you feel like you're not loved. So your parents are able to do this by basically saying, I don't know, since I'm not going to approve of you, that's going to feel like I don't love you. And for us, remember, our human creature side, we're like, we want to band together and create organizations where we fit in and we're loved. So that's
the tribe.
The tribe.
It's that part of our DNA where that's in us. That is, if you weren't part of a tribe, you couldn't survive.
It's safety.
You didn't survive in the world.
So parents really show us that you need to earn your place wherever, in your job, in your household, but you need to earn something. So there needs to be action. There needs to be this thing that you do for others. You need to be valuable in some sort of way. And that is where, for women, we get the good girl behavior. My daughter's a good girl. She does. Oh, my daughter's a good girl. I remember growing up with that shit. And the term was like, yeah, I understand that. I'm a good girl. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not a bad girl, but it never quite set right with me, because then my sister, who's 5 years younger, she became the bad girl. And I was like, she's really not bad, because she was way more adventurous than me. And I was like, I don't think that's bad. I'm just not bold. That's what I actually thought. I was like, my sister is bold and I'm not bold. I'm like safe. I'm like quiet. And that was just my nature. But being raised with that good girl mentality, that you need to be a good girl in order to be liked. Your parents give that to it. Our parents give that to us. Not that you did. You didn't want fucking trouble, but my mom told me when I was younger, you guys, she said, Jamie, I'm going to need you to be a little bit bad, because if you're not, you're going to die. Like, the good kids always die young. So I'm going to need you to do a little bit of bad. So she literally encouraged me to be a little bit bad.
I can't believe I told my kid that. But it's true, like, only the good die young, right?
Yeah, she said that to me, and I loved it. So I ran away for 4 months.
So another place where we see that we get this internalized patriarchy, religion, you guys. Religion is like
a whole podcast.
A whole huge thing that is just good shit.
The thing that I put down with religion that I see time and time again, because I have subjected myself to these fucking people talking, and I don't like it. Because I definitely don't want it to integrate my feed, unfortunately, but I want to see what they're saying is like, why? And you know that it always comes back to, like, do your biological duty. Women are made to have children. Which, number one, not all women actually can have children. I know somebody who has gone through 5 years of hell trying to have a child. It has not been easy for her. And now it has costed her a lot of pain and suffering to become pregnant, and that's how bad she wants a baby, and so that's her journey. So no, not all women are made to have fucking children. If science hadn't intervened, she wouldn't have been able to. And there are other women who are literally hooked on fucking heroin and crack and all kinds of shit, popping out 7-8 kids during their lifetime. So it's just the most ridiculous thing to say that that's a woman's biological job is to have children. It's not.
Oh, there's a whole conversation going on right now about the declining birth rate in the United States. So this was a couple of weeks ago. It was all over social media. Oh my God, the birth rate has dropped for 15 to 19-year-olds in 20 years. The birth. Well, hallelujah. We worked on that for such a long time to stop teenage pregnancy. Yeah. But now there's this contingent of people who are like, we can't have that. We can't have like less children. We need more people to have babies. Hey, you 15 to 19-year-olds, you need to start popping out kids again. What the fuck? Like, we went through a whole thing where we were like, stop teenage pregnancy. Yeah. Stop teenage pregnancy. We worked so hard on that, and now
my mom worked really hard on that.
And now it's like flipped around. Yeah, I was ready to put my girls on birth control the minute they started their periods, because I did not want to have knocked up teenage daughters.
Yeah.
Thank
you. And listen, I'm very grateful.
That was one of my major goals in life, was to not have a knocked up teenage daughter, because I didn't want to raise the child. I didn't want to be raising my child's child. Also I knew what that would do to them. So it's and I wasn't naive about sex, because I was very promiscuous when I was like, I started having.
Yeah, it's not like she told us don't have sex. She's like, don't get fucking pregnant. That was it.
If you're gonna do it, you need to be on
smart
birth
about
control.
it. Yeah. Which we can then go into the whole.
All right, then we have media, the competition between women for jobs, popularity, thinness. The media. Oh gosh.
Who they push to the forefront of like, this is the it girl, right? I don't know that they use that term anymore, but that used to be a thing back when. I'm not even sure if that magazine Cosmopolitan is even out anymore, but there used to be this term in the 2000s when I was in my 20s that was like the it girl, and that's what we all needed to aspire to be like. And I'm like, that couldn't be farther from what I want. Like, I don't fucking understand that. So media really pushes this idea, and we see it so much. This is another indoctrination of like, it gets to you because it's what is in your face every day. So it's what we think we should expect from ourselves, which we're going to get to the other bullshit within the beauty industry. But media really pushes that. The news. Do you ever see heavyset people on the fucking news reporting on anything? How many minorities are, you know what I have to watch every day, you guys? I want you to pity me for a second, but I have to watch that channel of money markets and whatever, because my husband is a certified financial advisor, planner guy. I have to watch those stupid fucking people, and every single one of them, except one, they're all white males, and then one is a white lady, and I'm not going to judge her by any means, but she just fits in the role and talks the same way as them, and it is all just, oh God, I don't even know why I started that. Every time I think of it, it drains my soul.
Well, if you look at all the women, or most of the women who are newscasters, just go look at the group of them. They all look like the same. They're all they dye their hair blonde. They're I mean, they basically just they're clones.
And they're gonna do whatever the producer says because they want the job, right? So the men have the control over. Well, then you're not gonna be a this. Then you got to do this. Oh, the fucking Hollywood shit.
Oh, what about the whole modeling agency? Nope, you need to lose, the whole modeling world. I went one time to be a model, and I weighed 120 pounds, and you could see like my ribs, and they told me I needed to lose 20 pounds, and I'm like, okay, I'm already like really skinny, but
she was heroin chic at that time. What was really desirable. But yeah, it's like you can't even do more. I never ever wanted to be any of that ever. Honestly, I was like, where can I find the girls who don't want to brush their hair and want to dress in boys' clothes and not get
She was always a tomboy, though.
I just didn't. It just felt so unimportant. I was like, why do we got to care about this shit? I care about it more now.
The education system, our education system.
Yeah, schools,
school, college, advanced degrees, everything. The
programs that you get into. You don't find as many women as you go higher up in education. And I just want to shout out to my goddaughter, who is now in a master's program, and so she has exceeded me, and I'm so fucking proud of her. Love you, Taryn. Just go get that shit, girl. So anytime that we can continue and not be discriminated against, and we have women that back us, because ultimately this is what I feel is my job now on earth, is to back other women for everything that they want to do, and anytime that they want to break standards and just like get out there, I'm like, fuck yes, how can I support you? What can I do for you?
I have such high hopes for the young women of today.
Yes, and I just want to do anything I can to help them.
I really do. I really think that they're going to be the ones, they're going to be the women who are like in their early 20s right now.
Yeah.
I think they are going to be the ones who really see the changes that we've all been, my generation, my daughter's generation.
Yeah,
really,
we've been working for this.
We've been working for it, and they're gonna take that, and they're gonna run with it, and they're gonna change the world.
Yeah.
That's what I truly believe. Because you know why? You know why that's gonna happen? Because they have witnessed their mothers, their aunts, their grandmothers, they've been a witness to all of these injustices.
They have
that women have. And discrimination that women have faced.
Yeah. But it's why it's really important for us to continue to talk about it. Like, don't let up on the conversation. I don't want to keep quiet about this. I just realized how important it is for all of us to have a voice. I want every woman I know to start a fucking YouTube channel and start talking about the things that are important to them. All of that is free. You can put yourself, your ideas, your beliefs, the power of it, the inspiring younger women, tell your stories. I have been saying this from the beginning. Your stories are what is going to empower the women who come after you. That's it. Because when they hear that shit, they can learn from it. And then they don't have to do the hard lesson. Like, you've already done the work. Give them the story so that they can continue to grow.
So I want to talk about this classes that are geared toward gender separation.
Yeah, because I get pissed about that.
So listen, when I was in high school, I remember taking, and I excelled really well in this business class. So this business class that I took in high school, it was all like secretarial stuff, like learning how to use a mimeograph machine, which was before fax machines, which had the big drum. If any of you are like in my age and did that, it had the big drum and you put the paper on it, and then the typing and stuff like that. So we were all, and then the guys were over in automotive, welding, and shop. There were no girls over there, right? The girls were all in home ec or the business. So yeah, this was high school in the mid 70s, right?
No, because in the 90s, these stupid fucks. This still makes me mad, you guys. Yes. Okay, so this still makes me upset. I grew up with a mom, okay? She didn't have time to teach me everything she knew. She taught me the most important shit and then was like, Jamie, you're going to need to do the research yourself. And I was like, can we buy the Encyclopedia Britannica? She was like, girl, that is like $2,000. No, you're going to need to figure it out at the public library. I was like, great. So I had restrictions on how much I could learn and from where. So you know what I did? I went to my school counselor and I was like, I want to be in automotive. And they were like, why? that's crazy. Don't you want to be in home ec and learn to sew and cook? And I was like, no. I have that education at home. What I don't have is a fucking dad to teach me about cars, and I really don't want to have to depend on a guy later when I need to change a fucking tire. And like, my mom works 3 jobs. She can't teach me this. Do you know that they fucking denied me going into automotive class so I could learn about cars when I was in 10th grade?
So this was the 90s.
1997.
That's fucking
what the
bullshit.
Fuck?
That's fucking bullshit. Oh my God.
Instead, I have a lovely little seal fucking plushie that I sewed to perfection. That's what I fucking learned. And I already knew, my mom literally was a seamstress and made all of our clothes.
Look, this is...
Yeah. Didn't get to learn shit about a carburetor or an alternator or how to change a tire.
I thought that I did not remember that. Yeah. I'm sure I knew about it when it happened. You did know about it.
You were pissed.
I cannot believe this. Like, okay, we're almost to the 21st century.
Yeah, Harmon
and we're still not letting young, high school girls take shots.
And I made a case. I didn't have a dad. I had nobody who was going to teach me about fucking cars. I had a good case. You guys,
Jesus.
Again, hot blood from that. I still get mad because it wasn't, and you know what they thought, of course, this was what was more fucked up. Not that I had any interest in boys, but they were like, it would be very distracting to have a girl in the class when it's all these boys. Like, what are they supposed to do? I don't know. Mind their fucking business, maybe.
Well, there you go. So the boys' behavior is our responsibility.
Yes. So a girl in the class would disrupt things too much. You would stand out. Unfortunately, Jamie, we get it. Oh, we're so sorry to deny you, but it's probably not good for anybody if you go learn about cars.
And this is the thing that we are not yet teaching boys. We're not yet teaching boys to, instead of expecting girls to alter their behavior, we're not teaching boys to be better behaved, right? We expect the girls to be the good girls and the boys to be the bad boys, and that's how the world works. And that shit, we're done. We're done. Those days are over. We're changing that. It's already started, and it's going to just continue to accelerate this thing where women are just done with that.
I don't even know if they do home ec in school anymore.
I don't know either.
Anyway, I know that school has failed my nephew, who is older than my son. It failed my son, who got his GED, and now my other nephew is in it, and it's fucking failed him. So I didn't have faith in the school system when I was in it. I fucking played along, but honestly, like, there's gotta be a better way, because at least where I've been, and that's Kansas City and in Sarasota, Florida. So those 2 school systems have fucking sucked. Hind tit, okay? Bad, horrible. Just, it's not about the student. It's about, you need to pass the FSA, you need to pass this, we just need you to pass the tests. If that is the goal of school, you're not learning shit besides to get the right answer. That does not allow for free thinking and problem solving. I've got many problems with the school system. But when I put down, school feeds us a stereotype, as we just talked about with home ec and automotive, right? Boys, this was the thing that was said about boys when I was in school, and I believe is still true from my son being in school. They gave a lot more chances to boys they're just more active, they're rambunctious, boys just have more energy, they just need to do that. Like, they make a lot of excuses for boy activity.
A lot of excuses. A lot. That's all they're doing. They're making excuses.
A lot of excuses for boys' activities and the bullshit that they do. And I know this because my son was just in school like 4 years ago, and I watched all his bullshit because he was not well behaved at school at all. Now, we didn't know he had epilepsy at the time, but I'm not going to make excuses for him. He was fucking up, and he was angry, and he was all over the place, and he wasn't caring about anything. And he's like he's, okay. I'm momming it. So boys are more active, rambunctious, they're physical, they're loud, they're not emotional, they're more logical. So these are all the excuses that we gave on why boys needed to be over here doing this thing and why girls need to be over here, because the girls are
expected. And why you can't put them together.
True.
You can't mix them. Yeah, they gotta stay separated.
Yeah. So girls are to have more manners, okay? They're to be polite and cross their legs, and they need to be put together. Like, don't be disheveled coming to school. What's wrong with your outfit? You didn't iron that? Your shirt's not tucked in. What's going on there? You know, why is your face red? Have you been crying? Honey, don't cry. That's a private thing that you do. So don't speak up, and don't, please, for the love of God, make a decision or cause chaos anywhere. Don't have a fucking opinion. That was school. And I did have 2 really cool teachers in Harmon, the school that didn't allow me to go to automotive, that were really smart men that actually was like, you can go really far. You're fucking awake. They used to say that. The one guy, he used to tell me all the time, he's like, you're more awake than anybody I've ever met. And I didn't know what that meant, but I know now what he means. Because I saw and I heard and I observed and I witnessed. And I was like, I'm more awake than other people. And I love that. I have no idea where that guy's at, but good male teacher who never crossed the line, always kept his distance, like was a good structure of a man from a young woman's point, definitely. Next we get into culture. All right, I spent a lot of time on school bitching, you guys, because I got feelings. So
well, look how much time we spend in school.
We spend so much time in school.
We spend, from the time we're 5 years old until we're 18 years old.
I know.
We're in school.
I just saw this thing about Billie Eilish, which, I really find her in so many ways very interesting as a human being. But her mom, she was like, parents are lazy if they send their kids to school. And I was like, that's shocking statement. Like, what? Most of us can't afford to keep our kids home and like blah, blah. But whatever. I watched her little interview and it was her mom wanted more for her. And I was like, dude, if I could have, I would have absolutely raised my kid at home and taught him more than the school system ever could have taught him. But I'm sorry. I don't know why I interrupted like that. What were we talking about that made me say that? I don't know.
We started talking about grooming.
Because how much time you spend in fucking school away from your parents? How much more could I have learned from my mom being at home with her if she was allowed to like homeschool me and teach me shit versus having to work 3 jobs just to raise us and pay rent? Yes, that was my point. Okay, Billie Eilish's mom did that for her, and I love that.
Okay.
Culture.
Grooming us like they wanted.
Oh my God, our
grooming
culture.
us to be what they wanted.
Yeah.
Smiling when we say no.
Oh, I see this in videos all the time, you guys. I cringe now. And I'm going to notice when I do it. Do you ever say no polite? When you say a polite no, you're like, no. And for everybody who's not seeing this on YouTube right now, like I'm smiling, say no. No. No, thank you. Yeah. We do the polite fucking no. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's actually, men don't take that as a no. They're like, she likes this. She wants more of that. Just so you know, that culturally, people are like, no.
Well, because what we're taught as girls and women is that, to be impolite is unattractive.
Oh, don't be a mad woman.
Don't be mad. Don't be and again, then you're called a bitch, right? So the ultimate is, or worse.
Yep. Where do I have that? Oh, that's at the end of this culture thing. Yeah. So I wrote this, so we're going to read through some of my chaos writing. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a little chaos writing because it was like what culture has done for us, the American culture. Okay, so I have lived in Japan and I lived on Guam. So I've experienced other cultures. I lived in Afghanistan and I lived in Iraq. All right, so those are all my places that I've lived. So I've witnessed other cultures extensively for certain amounts of time. But in culture in America, what's really interesting is that they do groom us for what they want from us, which is to be smiling and polite and don't cause issues and don't be mad. You shouldn't be upset, honey. What's wrong? Oh, the fucking honey word. Okay. It's unattractive to be mad. And men will say this openly. They're like, as soon as you have an opinion different from theirs, you're a bitch. They want to keep us tired and constantly second guessing ourselves, okay? Because there's guilt around resting. So you can't rest as a mom, as an employee. You're not allowed to just take a day off because mental health or... You guys, in other countries, there's so much geared towards mental health. There's just, like, people really understand that. In America, we're the fucking hustle culture, okay? It's like, no, you shouldn't be resting. You should be doing stuff. 4 hours of sleep is all you fucking need. That's why we're all getting cancer and dying. No, sorry, just kidding. Be responsible for other people's feelings. That's a huge one here. We're taught to absorb other people's feelings and then manage them. So I actually said to Cameron today, all right, short story. I'm going to make it short. I was sitting on the couch doing all my bullshit. My butt cheeks literally hurt from sitting on the couch that long, okay? Personal information, I know you guys. But, like, when you sit a long time, my butt just hurts now. I don't know. I'm 45. It's just, like, my cheeks, the muscle. Or I don't have muscle. I don't know what it is. So I decided I would take a break. And I didn't go into the garden like I wanted to. Instead, I went and laid on my bed on my stomach and continued to fucking work. Then my kid goes, Mom? And I'm like, I'm in my room with the door open. I was like, yeah. And he comes walking in. And so because of the way that I was positioned, I was like, I'm in a dress. Like, I'm in the same outfit I'm in a dress. So I sort of sit up, but then I adjust. I was like, oh God, this all looks, okay, well, that looks like I'm waiting for a man to walk in. I judged myself so harshly. So by the time I adjusted myself 3 times before he actually got to the door, and then I'm smiling because I'm uncomfortable, like, yeah? And he's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I was actually just adjusting my position so I could manage your feelings when you walked in and saw me and how I was sitting on the bed. And so I said it in a way that was like, oh, fuck, I've been doing too much research, because I knew why I did it. I was literally adjusting the way that I looked to make sure that he didn't feel uncomfortable walking in on his mom in her bedroom, sitting on her fucking bed, working. And I just, I went through that.
Yeah.
And that was when I realized it. So that's my story of, we really take on other people's feelings.
Yeah, being responsible for how other people feel. Yeah.
If we're standing a certain way, if you stand on, okay, you guys, you know what? Try this. Stand in front of people with your fucking hands on your hips and just see how they respond to you differently, because that body language is saying something to them like, are you okay? Are you offended? Are you mad right now? What's going on? So there are lots of subtle ways that we can present ourselves that end up giving other people feelings, whether it's comfortable for us or we're just we're fucking tired, so we look exhausted. Why do I need to worry about, you don't need to ask me about that. Yeah, if I look exhausted, I am. Don't make me manage myself so that you're comfortable. But that is something that our culture has taught us to do, okay? The body count thing. All right, this is on a different topic, but this is about women who are perceived as whores.
My friend Betsy, who was like, I'm just going to act like a man because why not? I like sex, but then she would feel bad. That was my friend.
She just had dissonance in there with what she wanted to do versus what society expected of her. So
she was still, even though she presented like she was all cool with it and everything, after the fact, she had certain expectations of what would happen, and when the guy didn't call her, then she felt bad about what she did. She felt less than. She felt in some way like she was used, when really it was her who initiated everything.
She decided it.
She decided. She was like, I'm going to his house, I'm going to fuck him. And, and I'm fine with that. Until the next day, and then she doesn't hear from him, and days go by, and then she never hears from him again. And now, because of what society has taught us about being women and sex and men, now she's feeling like shit about herself, and she's beating herself up and second guessing her decisions and feeling like and it's just to witness that, to see all of that, I watched this whole thing take place over the course of probably 2 weeks. The go out, the meet the guy, the go to the guy, and then her have this expectation of something happening after, and then when it didn't, then I watched her get depressed, and then heard her talk about, and it was like, fuck. We can't get away. It's really hard to get away from the conditioning.
That's because she was dealing with the integration of the patriarchal system versus what she was just willing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And be okay with.
And this is where we start spinning, we're like,
so our culture, there's many cultures, but in Europe, you guys, I've just learned that the people in Europe, they are not as uptight about sex as we are. I think in America, or at least what I've been exposed to as American culture, I think that we have a much more uptight
It's religion.
Version.
That's because of religion.
Yeah, and I don't, you know what's weird? Like, I don't, of all the, I've been in Europe now for 5 years going on, 5. And out of all the people I've met and all the things that I've seen and all the stories and just the, everybody, there has never been a thing about being uptight about sex or like even talking about it or casual dating. It's just, and they don't prosecute each other for it either. Where I think in the States, and I am 100% fucking guilty of this because I had the thing that was like, purity is the necessity, which is fucked. Just so you know, I know that now. But I don't think that it was purity in my mind. What I think it was safety. I didn't feel like giving, because I had been sexually abused, I didn't feel like sex equaled love or kindness or care. So it actually made me more resistant. So my sexual assault on myself was what actually kept me more chaste, or like just, I hate to say virgin-like because that's not it at all. When I slept with somebody, I was like, I'm doing this. This is my fucking decision. It wasn't It wasn't not my decision.
But you also had like this rule that you made for yourself that you know you could never sleep in your whole life more than 5 people in your whole entire life. Now where did that come from?
I don't know. I think I was so afraid of sex. Again, you really, part of this is you, right? This is all the warnings my mother gave me of, that's not what satisfaction is. That's what my mom taught me, truly, that sex does not equal love. And what Jamie wanted, young Jamie, she did not want to be used, and she wanted love if there was going to be a relationship. I didn't want uselessness, because I think that if we're going to have a physical connection, I didn't want it to be fucking useless. I'm like, then why would I do that with you? Why am I gonna expose all of this and be vulnerable with you if it doesn't fucking mean anything? So I think that I thought maybe I could get it right by the 5th time. I think that I literally told my Virgo rising was like, but you got 5 times to get this right, and then after that you're cut off. If you can't get it right 5 times, you're done. I don't know. It's really wild, because of course it's comical, right? And even so, I like made that shit up when I was probably 14. Before I even had sex. I'm sure I made that up. But when I got to guy like say 3 or 4, I'm trying to remember who they are. But I'm sure once I started having sex with people, it was like, this is not that big of a deal. Oh my God, I really put so much weight on this. But in where I was, losing your virginity was such a fucking benchmark thing, which is why I still love my sister, because my sister's like bucked against every system ever and taught me so much about just loving yourself and doing what you wanted and not thinking about what everybody else is going to be happy with. Good girl behavior, guys. Good girl behavior. Good girls don't sleep. Blah, 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 blah. My sister wouldn't tolerate any of that shit. And I had to learn so much from my sister, who is 5 years younger than me, because her boldness, her tenacity, her audaciousness, which sometimes felt like a problem. Can't lie. Sometimes it was a fucking problem.
Sometimes it was a problem.
Sometimes
it didn't feel like a problem. It was an actual problem.
Lawfully an actual problem. But her energy that never fucking changed, and she's still this person today, and she is this beautiful human being that I learned so much from all the time, is that I take myself too seriously, that I have literally become this indoctrinated person in the patriarchy that says that if I have a certain number, I might not be as worthy. And I've had men tell me, do not tell me your number, I will probably not like you after that. Goodbye now. Goodbye right now. Bye. Bye. If you can judge me off of my past behavior, like, bye.
One of the most just like fucked up things is the men are supposed to go out and sow their wild oats, and the women are all supposed to remain virgins until they're married. So who are the men sowing their wild oats with? Other men? Animals? What?
I just think that women got used to lying about it. I think that the whole time we've been doing the fuck we want, and we've just been lying about it and good, and we've been just like...
The thing was that women had to lie about it to protect their reputations.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise they were going to be all branded as sluts and whores and scarlet letters and adulterers and all that shit.
I love that movie with Emma Stone. I love that movie. Yeah, and this is where, if you went back to culture, so we do have movies, right, that enforce both sides. We do have songs, musicians, we have, like, that's our culture as Americans, that we are influenced by the things that are made here that we see on TV shows. I tell my husband all the time, because he is 20 years older than me, that he lived in Mayberry. You guys, his life, when he talks about it, he was a Mayberry kid. I was like, I was more like Shameless, okay? I was more like in the Shameless world, fighting to fucking get out.
Fucking poor.
No.
Goddammit.
I'm not saying we were the family in Shameless. I'm just saying that, like, the Chicago suburbs of just the shit.
I love Shameless. Those people are like.
And my husband loves Shameless.
It's just such classic.
My husband loves Shameless, actually.
The whole fucking thing is just crazy.
But when I tell him things about my upbringing versus his, I'm like, dude, I don't know how we relate sometimes. It's so crazy. And I used to think that too. I used to tell him, stop putting me on a fucking pedestal. Like, I come from the hood. Like, literally. You don't even understand.
There was no white picket fence. There was...
No. That's where we went to trick or treat for Halloween, where the white picket fences were, okay? We drove our car 45 minutes away so we could get the good candy.
Shit.
That was our life. But, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed those little stories because it brings up a lot of memories.
Yeah, let's move on to we probably spent a lot of time on
culture because it's our whole fucking
internalized how the patriarchy has become internalized.
Then I'm just gonna read through a couple things. I'm wrapping it up. See, my mom got to keep it together.
We have a lot more still to cover.
I know. I warned everybody, you need to be on a very long walk for this podcast, okay? Or a very long drive. I love you guys so much, but I'm going to give you a warning because this is big. And it just exists everywhere. We just see it, feel it, everything. All right. So in culture, I want to remind you guys that in movies, when there is trouble, and this has been pointed out by many famous Hollywood actresses, and they actually buck against movies. They will not go to movies who do things like this. But in big action movies, there is always a point when the whole thing is to the climax, and the female character turns to the male character, and she goes, "What are we gonna do?" It's a fucking thing in Hollywood. So we are literally indoctrinated into this thing where men have more authority, power, and genius. They're going to solve our problems. They're going to be the fucking heroes.
We're helpless. We're presented as helpless, basically.
Even in our movies.
Like you can't make a decision, a choice.
Be pretty and be stupid. That's So it is getting better, but... And there's Hollywood actresses who talk about this, that they're like, when they read a script and they see that thing, they're like, what? And I've even seen women who are like, now that I've told you this, you're not going to be able to unsee this in movies. And I will blame Disney for a lot of our fucking traumas as believing in good guys and giving people chances that don't deserve them, because they're always baiting us into like, the villain is actually the hero. He's the good guy. Believe in the fucking... Okay.
They kiss a frog, right? Yeah, and he turns into a prince.
Exactly. It's bullshit. So that's the thing with movies within our culture. All right, women look to the man and say, what do we do? And then when our behaviors and emotions have specific cultural words in America, one of the things I really love about the British people is they use the word cunt all the time.
All the time. Which I always had a problem with that word.
Not just a problem. The only time my mom smacked me across the face ever was when I said the word cunt. And I didn't even know how bad of a word it was. And we were literally sitting in her room, and I said something, and it was cunt, and then she was like, whap, and I ran. I was like, what the fuck? My mom has never hit me like that, but that word was... That was a trigger word for her.
That was like the word fuck for me when I was like in 6th grade. It's like, oh, you just didn't. This was like 1969 or 70, and nobody said the word fuck. So when you heard that word, it was shocking.
Did I ever tell you when Tony was like 6 years old, he didn't, or 6 or 8, he didn't know what that fucking word meant? This is my husband, you guys, super funny. And he was born in 1960, okay? So when he was 6 or 8, it was like 1966, 68.
Yeah.
He didn't know what that word meant, fuck. His dad, his mom stepped out of the door. Again, he lived in Mayberry, remember that. He lived in Mayberry, and his mom leaned out of the door and was like, he has a brother, boys, it's time for supper. And my husband, out of nowhere, for no reason, and he didn't even know what it meant, he goes, fuck you! His dad, it's a core memory of his that we've talked about so many times. His dad ran him down, grabbed him up, and like, I don't know, he never talks about his dad hitting him, but he was stuck in a room with his dad for about 4 hours, over and over and over again, talking about why he couldn't say things like that.
Oh my God, Tony, I remember the lectures.
Yes, that is what my husband has done. He's not a hitter. He's never been, like, he didn't hit his kids. He did the torture by talking.
Oh, God.
And his dad taught him that. So
I remember that. I forgot. I blocked that memory out of my life. That was a thing that parents in the 60s did, where you're just like, I think I'm going to die here if I have to listen to this anymore. Yep. And you just couldn't say anything.
You couldn't do anything.
Couldn't get away from it.
Core memory of my husband's. I love it because he also did not know what fuck meant. And just used it. And opened up a whole bag. So culture's in our word. Kat brought up fuck, so I use that. But for women specifically, bitch. You can literally say the word bitch and then imagine a woman's actions and why somebody would say bitch. Like, there is an actual persona around the word bitch, right? There is a persona.
It's like an archetype.
It is a fucking archetype, sadly. Slut.
So is whore and slut and hag.
Whore.
high maintenance,
bossy,
diva, crazy.
How many times have you been called fucking bossy just for standing up for yourself?
Yeah. How about high maintenance?
High maintenance.
Yeah. Diva.
Divas.
Drama queen.
Crazy. Everybody loves that one.
Yeah.
Call me fucking crazy one more time.
Call me crazy one more time.
Call me crazy.
I'll show
one
you
more
fucking
time.
crazy.
Love it. This
I'll
is
show you
American
fucking
culture
crazy,
for sure. Yeah,
motherfucker.
I will fucking show you crazy. Yeah, one more time.
You think I'm crazy? You ain't seen shit yet.
So we're not going to go into this too deep because it is probably a whole podcast on itself. It's something that I'm really learning about, and that I actually, the last witches circle that we got together, I asked everybody, or the time before that, I was like, do people shave? So in beauty, so we went through like culture, school, parents, media, religion, all that shit. The last one is the beauty standards, and I think we can all figure out where we fit in the beauty standards of what's presented to us and what is actually realistic for us. I've done Botox once or twice. I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I tried it. I was like trying to live up to things. I was like, yeah, that's normal, right? We don't do this. That was how many years ago now? 4 or 5? I don't know. It could have been before COVID. But we tried it and we were just like, I don't want to do this forever. This is crazy. So in the beauty standards, we think about, it's been called to our attention that our beauty standards have a huge link to pedophilia. And that shit blew my mind, right? Because being clean shaven everywhere. I've told you guys the story. When I started growing hair when I was like 11, I asked my mom, I was like, can I cut this shit? It's very uncomfortable. I don't like it. So I feel like that was always my decision. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely been told by men, this is what I prefer. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. That's effort. I'll do it when I can. Sure, gotcha. I don't always shave my pits. Actually, when I was dating nobody for 5 years, I didn't shave my legs. I didn't shave my underarms. I still shaved my hoo-ha because I don't like the fucking itch. It's a personal system that don't feel like you're one way or another because you do or don't do it. It is personal, I think. But if you're doing it because a man asked you to, fuck that.
But the point is that all these grooming standards that men or that society or culture has said, these are the grooming standards for women that are acceptable.
Young.
They're very much putting women, reverting them like really, really, really
Childlike,
young,
right?
Yeah, childlike, preteen, like almost preteen.
Right, because when you're so skinny, you don't have boobs or ass. You're preteen when you're that skinny. When you're heroin chic, you're preteen looking, or even little boy looking. So depending on what they like, which I've heard arguments for that. But the clean shaven, looking really like the eternal youthfulness pisses me off. I'm like, no, I'm actually really proud. Do you know my 2 gray hairs are still here? I looked at them today. I was actually like, I need to make sure they're still here. I have 2. 2 chrome glitters in my head, and I'm fucking proud of those bitches. I'm 45 years old. Look at all the
men who want to date women that are,
because they're emotionally immature.
20 years younger than them.
Emotionally immature.
Because they're like, because I'm so hot with my pot belly and my bald head,
They're not. They think they offer something to youthfulness.
They think they can still get and deserve a 20-year-old woman. Young woman.
The next thing that we're going to go through really fast, what we hear growing up, these are actual phrases in the U.S. that we hear, and that is, good girls behave, okay? Good girls behave themselves. Behave yourself like a good girl. Be a good girl, all right? Don't attract attention. Oh, are you wearing that? People are going to look at you. You're attracting attention. Like, it's on you what people do with their eyeballs, unfortunately. Next is, boys will be boys.
Which basically excuses any boy, any
will be boys.
Bad behavior.
Yeah.
But that's all that does is
1000%.
Excuse any bad behavior.
Yep. And it's always the environment of women need to protect themselves, not holding men accountable for being the fucking predators. So it's like, protect yourself out there. Did you get home okay? Hey, did you get to the club? Don't ever leave your friend. You can't leave. Yeah, that is protecting yourself. And this whole standard of good girls don't have sex before marriage or babies out of wedlock, and girls who got pregnant back in the day were shipped off to their aunts or some other place.
Yeah, they went to visit their aunt for the summer or some shit, when really what they really went to was like a nunnery or a girls' home for unwed mothers. This was homes for unwed mothers was a thing in the early 70s. I was actually in one, not because I was pregnant, but because the state didn't have anywhere else to send me. And it was a whole huge Crittenden, home for unwed mothers in Los Angeles. This was the
she
thing.
was just a runaway,
I was just a runaway, but they didn't have anywhere to send me.
It's so cool that you actually got to experience that, but not be in the thing of it.
Yeah, everybody in there was pregnant but me, and they were all like 14 and 15-year-olds.
Fucking hell.
I was 12.
Yeah. So now we're going to go into the automatic thoughts. This is what sparked this entire podcast, is what happened with Kat. She had an automatic thought, didn't like it, was like, what the fuck is that? Let's call attention to it. Let's root that out. I want to find why, and I want to correct it. And this is what we do when we are trying to better ourselves. So when you come across your automatic thoughts that think when you're just in public and nobody can hear you, and you think it and you're like, what the fuck? Why did I think that? That's not who I am.
Yeah.
This is what happened.
Or that was fucked up. I don't know why I thought like that. I don't know what made me think that, or even sometimes.
Well, now you know what made you think it.
Well, I do.
Do you feel guilty from it? Or shock? Like, name the feeling that happened with it?
Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah. Honestly, it really shocked me. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
When I have them, it shocks me too. I'm like, who was that?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Is not me.
It's like somebody that you don't know has put a thought in your head, and really what it is like all this ingrained stuff that you're carrying around that that we're trying to purge and change and recognize, become aware of, so that we can change it, because that's what it takes, is for us to become aware, and then we can start to change those
awareness.
Those things.
Then you can change it. Yep. So, defining automatic thoughts.
Yeah, this is just something, it's like, it's fast, it's unconscious, and it's a conditioned response. It's something that is like, you learned this so long ago, you don't even know where you learned it from. It's just part of the culture. Like all these things we've been talking about, the culture, the schools, your home environment, all the things that we covered up here on how things were internalized. What religion, parents, media, school, culture, all these things. This is where those things started. That's where they took root, and it's where they have stayed in until they surface again, and we confront them. Then we can't change them. And so that will happen to us. I feel like those things happen to us. We're just going along. I'm just going along, minding my own business. I'm just reading something. All of a sudden I'm reading something, and I have this like I was like, what? Why did that come to my mind? Yeah.
But what I love, you guys, I want you to remember that when you are able to witness, question, and then like, what the fuck, a automatic thought, this is real growth in your life right now. You are changing into the person that you probably want to become, because if you weren't able to recognize that as a fucked up thought, you're not changing. So all the thoughts that we have throughout our day, so many of them go unnoticed, right? Our brain deletes millions of thoughts that we have because our body can't process and hold everything. But when she was able to literally pinpoint a thought and be like, what the fuck, who is that? That means that not internally yet. There's still systems that have to be shook and rooted out and fucking destroyed, burnt, right? But her living life, her language doesn't sound like that anymore. Yeah. So when it doesn't sound like that anymore, when that automatic thought happens, that's when you're like, whoa, you notice it because it doesn't sound like you. You're like, that's not how I feel or think. That's crazy. What?
So some of them might be, some of them might be like, why is she wearing that?
Yeah.
Why did she do that? Why did she go there? What was she doing in that space? If she hadn't done A...
Why did she go to the club at 2 a.m.? Why did she not go home
Why was she
yet?
walking home alone? If she hadn't done A, then B wouldn't have happened,
We are making excuses for why things happen to her that actually make it her fault.
Yeah.
Even...
We put the onus on somebody who was... when it should be on the person, the perpetrator.
Yeah. Because we go way back to the beginning of this podcast, men are considered to be more high value than women. That is what is ingrained in us since we were little, that they hold more authority, more power, more relevance, more value. And so in a situation where a bad thing happens and it's a man versus a woman, if you have not fully rooted out this bullshit, you're going to think like, well, why was she doing that? Fucked. It's a fucked thought. It sucks. It sucks that we are still having to deal with the fact that of something that we didn't choose. It is not your fault. I want to keep reiterating this because I have felt very guilty over the last 3 weeks looking at my own thoughts and understanding things and like realizing, oh, this was military. Oh, this was high school. Oh, this was all of the things I encountered with women that were really bad interactions, and then with men that might have been positive because patriarchy rewards women who submit. And I did. And I have to realize that about myself, that I got rewarded by submitting to the patriarchy in these systems that I grew up in. And now I have to change that. And now this has to be different. And now it doesn't matter. So it's really hard to come to terms with.
Well, here's something to think about. The first thought is what we were taught. The second thought is who we are. And that's what, I think that's what happened to me when I recognized that. And I was like,
yeah.
Because I didn't feel that way. You know, it was just this automatic, that was my reaction to it. But that's not who I am.
You feel, yeah. But in psychology, that's what an automatic thought is. It's something that's been ingrained in you from a long time ago. And if you have not done the quote unquote shadow work, therapy to work through these issues to find out if it is an issue, you have to address it when it comes up. You can't just make all the shit that is like not aligned with you as your person right now show up in one session. You need years of understanding your own behavior, your thought processes, how you make decisions, how you speak to yourself and other people, how you show up for other people, your boundaries. This is all the shadow work that witches do.
I think that you can expect that as you go along in life, that things are going to crop up, that you're going to, all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh shit, okay, this is something that I need to work on. This is something that I need to reflect on. That, you know, that you will spend time. It's like when I did the Savannah trip, the Savannah webcast or podcast. Sorry, I was on a webinar today, so it was like, and apparently it's stuck in my head. But the Savannah thing, where I just like, I had all these things that happened on that trip and all these feelings that I had and all these reactions, and I was just like, it was a lot, and it was a lot for me to process, and I needed like 2 days to think about that. And I think as we go through and we grow and we're changing a little bit at a time, and we have to kind of have the experience again to know what we want to change, to recognize that, oh, this is an area that I'm not like that anymore. I know I had that thought, but that's not who I am, or that's not who I want to be.
It takes practice.
For
that's
me,
what you're saying.
Yeah, for me, it was a decision that was like, that's not who I want to be anymore. So I'm not going to do those behaviors that I know, because that person, that's not who I am anymore, and that's not who I want to be anymore. So I'm consciously making that decision to change it. So let's talk about why sometimes women blame women.
I do want to say that you wrote up there, thought does not equal belief. I really liked that. It's just very simple. Thought does not equal belief. I think I'm going to make an Instagram post about that just because you have a thought, it does not equal your beliefs. These are things that are rooted in ourselves that we are trying to change. This is why shadow work exists. It's why it's a huge part of witchcraft. It's actually why it's more of the like, ooh, ah, ooh, like when you see shadow work, people are like, oh, there's a whole feeling when they see the word shadow work, because you're like, it's your shadows. Yeah,
it is your shadows.
It is your shadows. It's the part that's really fucking hard. It is scary. It is like a cemetery. Things are buried underneath there that you gotta dig up and look at that fucking skeleton.
It's, you know what? I think of the shadow part of us as the part that we don't want to show the world, or even ourselves sometimes.
It's ourselves. We're barely aware ourselves.
We're like, that part is hidden, and I don't want to face it because it's very ugly.
And it's uncomfortable.
It's
remember that our brain, psychologically, our brain is wired for repetition to keep us safe. Do the same things. Doesn't matter. Painful, happy, doesn't matter. Brain is wired for repetition. It doesn't want to work hard. Our brain is actually super fucking lazy. So once you teach it a thing, it's just going to cycle through that thing until you teach it another thing. That's why they say it takes 21 days to make a new habit. Give or take. But our brain loves repetition because it's fucking lazy, and it's like, just do the same thing all the time. That's why people will stay in abusive relationships. This is why we will stay in places that we're uncomfortable. This is why we just deal with shit, because we can actually absorb all of that because our brain feels safe. Because they're like, I'd rather be in a known hell than an unknown future. You've heard that, right? Yes, that's the thing. So I just wanted to call out because I loved what you wrote there. I want that on a card somewhere where I can see it all the time. Thoughts do not equal beliefs.
Right.
Beliefs are choices. Thoughts are something that has been ingrained in you, and can you change them? Absolutely yes, but it takes effort. So you don't know all the thoughts until they come up, but beliefs are chosen.
Okay, so
why do
women blame women sometimes?
Yeah.
Because when I read that post, and my automatic thought was, I was placing blame on her, and whatever it was I thought, and again, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know that what I did was I put the onus on her. I put the responsibility onto her, and I'm like, okay, why did that happen? So this is, victim blaming, we learned as a survival strategy.
Yep.
If we believe that she caused it, then we can also believe that we can prevent it from happening to us, right? Because we can prevent it. If we know that it was her fault, then that means that we can protect ourselves from it. When really, there wasn't anything that she did. The person that did it to her was the one, and you can't. But that's like this, like, fucked up psychological thing where we're like, okay, well, I would never do that, so that would not happen to me, right?
So this is why when I was just the tender age of 12, I wanted to learn everything I could about serial killers for no fucking reason at all.
God. My girls were obsessed with serial killers.
I'm not kidding you guys. When I say I was obsessed and owned every book about serial killers that I could get my hands on, I really did. I read, I researched, I needed to know everything I could about serial killers. And from an outside perspective, they're like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Why is she idolizing? That's probably more what it looked like with my library of serial killer fucking autobiographies or interviews or anything. But what I was actually doing, and I couldn't express it back then, is I was trying to learn how they chose their victims so I would not become one. I needed to know the why, which is why eventually I went to school for psychology, right? Like, I had to know the inner workings of the mind so that I was not going to be a victim of somebody else's mind and their thinking. And so in this, that is what I see. When we blame the victim, we say, we're smarter than that. We would do better than that. We wouldn't wear that. We wouldn't be in the club that late. We wouldn't get in an Uber alone. We wouldn't do all the fucking things we tell ourselves that we wouldn't do like the victim did. Is a way that we think that we're keeping ourselves safe by distancing ourselves from the actual victim, rather than the logical thing, right? The logical thing would be to say, what the fuck is wrong with him? We need to burn him at the stake. We need to take him out into a fucking cow pasture and shoot him and bury him and let nobody know what happened. That's extreme. But it's what I imagine we would have done before there was a lot more humans in the world and accountability. I think that when humans acted against another human, I think that culturally, these small societies that we lived in, we took care of that shit. When somebody acted against a woman, a child, there was no excuses. There wasn't a trial. There was no excuse. That was done. We're going to end that fucking line right now. That's how I truly think that we probably behaved before religion. Now we give people chances. Now we just shift pedophiles around, and now we put them online and just say, well, as long as people know that you're a pedophile, we're all safer in our neighborhoods now. Surely now that everybody knows about you, you're not going to be another sexual offender. Sure, right, yeah. We'll go with that. So I think that it's ingrained in us now to just say, we have to not be victims. We have to figure out what the victim did wrong and then not be that. I think that that's where it comes from, but it's still fucked up to look at what the victim did rather than what the actual person who did the crime did.
Yeah.
It sucks. Look, it's a hard thing to think about, talk about, anything. Yeah. And not everybody is brought to justice. There are probably billions. I'm going to say billions. I don't even know if there's that many humans on the earth right now, but I'm sure throughout history, billions of people who have gotten away with doing horrible things to men, women,
terrible
children.
Things. Yeah, we know that.
Boys, girls, animals. I'm thinking, this is why sometimes my soul has a hard time being here.
Yeah.
If you guys feel that, I feel that, just so you know. Oof. But find a purpose like this. Put your shit out there. Educate people. Find a purpose. That's how you can make the balances, right? Tip the balances. The scales. Yeah. Because we have to do something. Find your purpose in helping others rather than just trying to stay safe yourself. the louder we are, the more that they are not going to be able to get away with what the fuck they've gotten away with.
So what came up for me when I had this automatic thought, some of the things I felt was like, well, it was shocking, but then there was also like this, feeling of like, I think I felt some amount of shame for that too, because I'm like, how dare you, blame a woman for something that she didn't have any control over.
Yeah.
To reframe that, and if this happens to you, a way you can reframe it is that you didn't choose the conditioning. You've been conditioned. We've all been conditioned. We've been raised in this patriarchal world, and so we've all been conditioned. So when you have thoughts like that, and instead of blaming yourself, realize that this is part of our culture, has been part of our culture for a long time,
and why we need to change it.
But we can choose to be different, and
absolutely.
And I think that's the key thing. Is like these things will crop up. You will have situations just like I did, where it was totally random, and I totally had this thing, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Recognize it. It's not you. It's like this stuff that's from so long ago. That's like these. What's the neural pathways when you talk about you have this experience and then it like makes this little embedded like neural pathway in your brain, and then you have to do something to override it. That's a psychology thing.
It is a psychology thing. So let me explain the structure of a brain. Okay, so you have two neurons, and they are feeling, emotion. And then you have memory, visualization, what actually happened in the event. Because I did EMDR to get rid of my trauma, to not have the feeling when I think of the event. So you have two neurons when they fire together, two neurons that fire together, wire together. And it actually, like the way that I think of it is when a carriage goes down a dirt path, the more time that carriage goes down that dirt path, it actually kind of digs a hole. Right? It makes a groove.
That's what I was thinking of,
the groove. So that's the way that I've always explained our memories, because our memories not only carry the visualization, but they carry the feeling in our bodies. And so when these two neurons fire together, you get a groove in your brain that is literally a pathway that is there. It's there once that groove is in the dirt of your brain. This is a little bit metaphorical, you guys, but once that groove is in the dirt of your brain, you cannot just get rid of it. It doesn't just go away. That fucking shit is there forever. Unless you get dementia or Alzheimer's, then it's eaten away. But it is there forever. And so you could go 5 years without thinking about the horrible thing that happened to you, but the moment that you recall it, boom, you are in that deep fucking curvature of the dirt where it's gone a million times, and you're just like, oh, you feel it so deeply because these two neurons, they fire together, they are wired together. And this is also, if you listen to Joe Dispenza, this is a whole thing with healing yourself as well. So what you have to do is break the cycle of feeling the thing when you envision the thing, which is why EMDR therapy is really helpful. It actually intersects the two hemispheres of the brain, and they don't allow you to feel a feeling and see a thought. It actually disconnects the two. So you could have the thought with the visualizations and not feel the feeling, which is what happened for me. It can go the other way too, where I guess the feeling is there, but you don't feel any, you don't visualize anything. You can't see the assault happening to you. So when we want to create a new pathway, and that's why it's easy to talk about it as a path, right? Because it's like dirt path, like the thing is traveling. Yeah. You need the repetition of it. This is why mantras work. This is why meditation works. This is why saying the thing for our spells works over and over and over again. Repeat the thing, repeat the thing, repeat the thing.
Also, I think saying it out loud. Saying it out loud.
Writing it down, fucking drawing a picture. Anything that you can do that literally involves all of your senses to make this thing more real, you need to do that, and that will actually override it. So when you are no longer firing these two things together, say victim blaming with women being in bad situations, when you no longer allow those two things to fire together, eventually that path wears out and it breaks because it has to build a new one. You've got the victim, and now you've got this new path that you've drawn over here, which is blame the fucking guy who did it.
The perpetrator.
New path. So now these two neurons are firing together. And that is how we build new structures in our brain to think differently. This is how we create new habits, because repetition builds those neural pathways that groove in the dirt of over and over again. And that is how habits stick. This is also the way that the patriarchy has been integrated into our literal systems of thinking that we don't even know about until something like this happens with Kat, where you're like, I didn't even know there was a groove there. I didn't even know these two neurons fired together. Like, this is fucked up. I would like to break up this relationship, burn that bridge, like eliminate that dirt road, whatever it is. Repetition. So hearing that, it's not that she said this shit to her when she was younger to herself. It's not like she chose this. She heard it. She saw it. It was in relationships. It was in her jobs. It was in school. It was in our culture. It's online. That is literally carving the neural pathways for us to create those two things firing together, right? It's like asking yourself some questions. I'm going to deviate for a second. When you see a super wealthy white male, what happens in your body? What do you think? Are you disgusted? Are you envious? Are you like, I wish he would go to the moon and die? This is a neural pathway for you. This is a thought that you probably have wired over and over and over again that you don't like. How does it feel if someone was to give you free money? How safe does free money feel to you? How safe does a free car feel to you? How safe does a group full of women fucking cheering you on, wanting you to do your best? How safe is that for you? Like, these are the things that when we get down to the nitty gritty of really growing ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, because that is where real change happens. It's not in staying the same. It's not in, I have my mom, my sister, and my group of friends that love me, and I'm secure here. If I don't break out of that, I cannot grow. All of this is already reinforced. It's already my structure. You have to go beyond that. Every time you make yourself uncomfortable, you are now creating a new neural pathway to say, I'm ready for this experience. I'm ready to grow this. That's literally at the root of spell work, you guys, and mantras, is we're trying to create a new neural pathway of something that we want to manifest, and that all happens in the brain. And once those two neurons are going together, you have literally energy like a battery charging a light that hits from both sides. It's like, I'm now powering this energy out into the world. I did not expect to say it exactly like that, but that's a really great way of explaining it.
I think it is a really great way of explaining it. I also have another way that we can just think about this. So let's talk about rewriting the narrative, or deconditioning the word. So here's the thing that we can do. Jamie did it, and I think I'm basically going to say the same thing, but a little more.
No, please do a different perspective, because I was
in a step-by-step kind of way. So when you have a thought that shocks you, like mine did me, notice the thought without judgment. Question it. That's step one. So step two, question it. Is it true? Who taught me that? Ask yourself questions about it. 3, replace it with the truth.
What you choose.
Yeah, what's the truth for you? It was not her fault. Women are not responsible for preventing harm. Something like that. And some other things that we can, when you just talked about things like mantras, so that we have journaling, whose voice is this? You can journal about that, like, who was that? Maybe that was me 25 or 30 years ago, or when I was little, or like you said, like,
or your mom's influence,
or it was culture, it was something that I heard,
or something on media, like something you witnessed in the world, for sure.
So these are practices, so journaling and like talking through, like writing out, like all those things, like keep asking the questions, digging deeper and deeper. Candle ritual for releasing these inherited beliefs that we have, these programs this programming that has happened to us over the course of our lives through all of these different things that we've been exposed to. And then the affirmations or the mantras that we can write that will rewrite the brain.
Carve a new path in your
brain.
Carve a new
path in your brain.
Carve a new path in your brain. Just fucking carve it out. Decide what you want. Repeat that thing over and over again. That rewrites it. That's it.
Okay.
I know our last thing, second to last thing kind of, but it's the patriarchy with the witch wound. Because the witch wound was really popular to talk about, like, those words were super popular probably 3 or 4 years ago, the witch wound. And I was like, wow, I've never heard it quite expressed that way, but I get it. Now I understand it. I've looked into it and how people express it. And it's just this, like, historical silencing of women's power and thinking that we dared to venture into men's fields, but truly, I just want to say, like, actually men got into our fields. Like, if you think about science and medical stuff, like, women were doing this way the fuck before men. But it's just been taken over.
I think about the women through history, that I read these little clips about women in history who did something, who discovered something, but then men got the credit for it.
Oh, yeah.
Or built, or like, if you guys know the story of the Brooklyn Bridge and the building of that, and the woman whose husband was,
he was sick.
Actually, he was very sick, and she was the one who built it, but she had to keep that on the down low because
it wouldn't be accepted.
Because nobody would accept that. A woman could just, like, women aren't smart enough for that, or they couldn't be trusted with something as big as, like, this huge engineering feat of the Brooklyn Bridge. There's lots of instances like that in medicine. There's been discoveries in medicine.
Too.
In art, there's
I
been
know
like
so much
so
about
many,
the art world where women have been covered up by men. It fucking sucks.
I mean, this has happened, like, throughout history, where
in all professions,
in everywhere. It doesn't
men
matter
take
where it
credit
is.
for the fucking kids by we have to give our kids their last name. That still happens today. Which I just want to say, my sister bucked the shit out of that system. She didn't give her kids their daddy's last name at all. She gave them our last name, the women's last name. So, well, technically my dad's last name, but it's her maiden name are her children's last names. Yeah. Again, my sister is bold and beautiful and fucking bucking the system, and I love that. I didn't. I gave my son his dad's last name, so I don't know.
So the other thing, of course, that, you know, the witch wound, punishment for autonomy, intuition, and our sexuality. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, for how long were men allowed to lock their wives up in asylums and just say they were crazy or mentally unfit or
lunatic.
Just lunatic.
Lunatic comes from being crazy by the moon.
This happened, like, all the fucking time. You know, women could just be disposed of because we had no power, we had no autonomy, we had no rights.
Men were believed every time. It didn't matter. They were believed every time. I mean, women are still persecuted in the world today when men say, my wife cheated on me, she needs to die. Like, that still fucking happens today in this world, that women have no authority over their own lives or are believed by anybody. It's like the man's word is law.
And speaking of that, so they had no legal standing in our judicial system. Mm-hmm. They couldn't go to court, and, you know, there was no
fight for themselves.
They couldn't fight for themselves. They didn't have a legal standing. It was all men. And how that energy still echoes today, feeling unsafe with other women, and is part of the witch wound.
Because we couldn't band together, because if we did, then we were truly, like, I mean, back to the witch hunts, when women stood together, you could be accused by another woman. So actually being a woman's friend wasn't your best bet on survival. And we learned that through the witch trials. And that's part of the witch wound, is not only that women had to out other women to save themselves, men had to out other women to save themselves. So friends of theirs, neighbors, I mean, this lives in all of us. It's less talked about with the men's community, that they actually had to betray women that they probably loved and trust, but they were trying to save themselves. And it keeps coming back to safety, on why we sort of, like, absorbed these bad behaviors, because we are all trying to keep ourselves safe. And even the word fucking martyr, even that, being tied to something that's like, you're gonna let yourself die for a cause that's not even about you, like, these are all historical references to people trying to stand against a system that was just ready to off anybody that disagreed with them anyways. It doesn't matter. It's not even looked at as a good thing anymore. Yeah.
Internalized patriarchy is part of the larger witch wound that women carry, or the larger wound that women carry.
Because we still have to deal with the fact that even though we don't like it, it is internally in us, and we have to fight against it all the time. And it takes time to get it out of your system, to recognize the thoughts, to change behaviors if you want to even, I talked to Kat about, like, I need to be able to love the men in my life without hating them and knowing what the patriarchy is. Because for just generalization, the men in my life are white men. That is my family. I'm European American, right? So I have white men in my family. So it's literally the fucking standard of what the patriarchy is. And I don't want to see them be that thing. And now I'm starting to pick apart behaviors. I'm starting to look at other things differently. And I'm like, I don't want to get to a place where I don't like my relationship, or I don't like the people I'm in relationships with. And I also don't want to, like, make excuses for them. So I'm already talking to my son about this. I've brought up multiple subjects with my husband just to see where he stands. And although those are my two relationships that I care about the most, you know, I'm just going through basically a discovery phase of, yeah, how can we all change for the better? How can we shift our beliefs? What are the things that are hiding? We don't fucking know, because I have an amazing relationship with my husband. I think my kiddo is pretty fucking great. And he's just struggling in general in this system as well. You know, this system has not been kind to him. The patriarchy actually has really fucked him over because he's a super sensitive, emotional kid. And that's not boded well for him in the school system and having guy friends and understanding what his purpose is and feeling manly. He's like, he told me probably a year ago, he's like, how am I ever going to learn to become a man when my mom raised me? I'm like, yeah, see, that feels fucked up. Like, you feel less than just because you were raised by a mom. So we're learning together. And I'm addressing these things not heavy where nobody can breathe, but little conversations. And I think that when you have men in your life that you love and that you want to make sure that you're being heard, your thoughts are being felt, right? That you're reaching out. I will say don't be too overbearing. We all need time to shift and change. Like, have a little grace with that. But stay persistent. If somebody's not willing to change, that needs to be fucking addressed. But I think if people are willing to hear the conversation and go along with it and, like, uncover some things, yeah, stay with that. Stay fucking with it. That's what I'm going to do.
So we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to say, if you've had thoughts like this, you're not alone. And the awareness, becoming aware of them, that's your power right there. That is the power that you have.
That is the power.
We don't heal ourselves by shaming ourselves. We heal ourselves by seeing and choosing differently. Yeah. That's how we start making changes.
And it's not overnight, you guys. Don't rush this. You're okay. Give yourself time. That's what I talk about with grace. This is not an automatic switch. It's not like you're going to decide it and then if you fuck up, it's not okay. Listen, give yourself grace and time and change, and then give it purpose. Dedicate some time to that thing, you know, to changing in the way that you want to. If that is what you want, give yourself time to do that.
And it doesn't need to be automatic. You are not your conditioning. You are the one who gets to rewrite it.
That's right. You get to be the change in the world that you want to see.
That's it.
We love you guys so much. This was a 2-hour podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's a big topic of patriarchy. We love you. And we're all just trying to survive this shit, right? Like, let's just do what we
grow.
can.
And I think survive it and then grow from it.
Survive it and grow. There's some survival first. Grow, survive, grow. Do what you can. Literally, don't become so overwhelmed that you can't handle it. Don't shut off. Don't let it get you so bent out of shape that you shut off. That's the worst thing you could do. Handle it little by little. And like, you hear this, maybe don't look into anything for a month. Just sit with it. You know, I mean, I've been researching this for like 3 weeks now, and it's still really fucking heavy to me, and I don't understand, and I have a lot of time to research. So somebody who is like raising kids, working a full-time job, doing all kinds of other shit, you guys have minimal time. Give yourself a year, maybe. Give yourself time. There's no pressure to immediately change and switch and like convert.
This has been going on for thousands of years. I almost feel like the best that we can do is just try to be better than we are better than we were yesterday. And when we see the
1%,
when we see the things that we don't like, that we make efforts toward them, and that if we backslide, then we forgive ourselves, and then we move on, and we do better the next time, and we just keep working toward that goal of trying to be better than what we were yesterday, last week, last year. And I think that's all we can do.
Keep your awareness. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. We love you. Bye, witches.